Hey guys, what's up? I'm Minji, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to complete this week's Prestige Nightfall, which is the Savathun's song, Nightfall. So, this week's Nightfall is probably the hardest Nightfall in Destiny 2 to date. It is extremely challenging, but it's also a lot of fun. I personally had a lot of fun beating this. I've actually successfully beaten it 3 times now. So once on each character. And basically once you get your groove on, it's not that hard. You just have to do everything in a very precise way. And I'm going to be giving you guys some pointers and some tips on how to complete this Nightfall. So first things first, weapons. Weapons are very, very important. I personally ran 2 scout rifles and the coil. The coil is a must in my opinion. It is very, very good for this Nightfall. It's good for killing off the red bar knights and any of the majors in this strike. And there's a lot of them. It's also really good against the ogres. So definitely recommend a coil. If you don't have a coil, maybe a Mercilist or a cluster bomb rocket launcher would be like the raid rocket launcher or the Vanguard rocket launcher. But for your primary and your secondary, I went with the Nameless Midnight. If you do not have a Nameless Midnight, get it. It's very, very simple to obtain. You just have to start a character if you have not already done all 3 characters and complete the strike quest. When you do complete 2 strikes, you get to choose one of the 3 Vanguard weapons. So, yeah, I would definitely choose the Nameless Midnight. It is the best primary in the game. And then for your energy weapon, for your secondary weapon, I was using the Manananan. It is the Gunsmith Scout Rifle. I also think a Uriel's Gift would be pretty solid. But I really liked using a secondary scout rifle as well. Basically, you're going to use this scout rifle to knock off any shields on enemies, and then switch to the Nameless Midnight. Go from there. Now on to character selection and subclasses. Basically, every single time I completed this Nightfall, we just had a person on each. The reason why we did that, though, is because it was the same 3 of us doing our Nightfalls, and we wanted to make sure we never had multiple Titans, because Titans are probably your weakest in PvE, at least as of now, or at least for this strike. So Warlocks and Hunters, I definitely recommend if you're doing, like, only plan on doing one and it's with the same, set 3 people. Multiple Hunters or multiple Warlocks is very, very good. If you're on a Hunter, use Night Stalker, use the Orphis rig leg exotics. They basically give you your tether back when you tether a certain amount of enemies. I believe it's like 6 to 8 enemies, but it's very, very good. And I'll go into more detail on where to use your tether in this strike. And then for your Warlock, Stormcaller. Stormcaller is very good. Super decent for PvE, but you get Pulse Grenades, which is extremely good. And then obviously, you have your Healing Rifts. So make sure you have your Healing Rifts on, and choose the bottom skill tree for the Stormcaller. So those are pretty much the subclasses that you want to be using while doing this strike. If you are forced to be on a Titan, make sure you don't have more than 1 Titan in your team. But I was running Striker when I ran my Titan with double Pulse Grenades. And I was running Crest of Alpha Lupe so that anytime I was weak, needed to heal, I could just pop my barrier and get a little health from that. Now, moving on to the Nightfall itself, I'm going to be giving you guys some pointers, some tips, some of the strategies that we were doing. If it's your first time, you've never done this Nightfall, I recommend just running through it once and seeing where all of the anomalies are located. And then once you do that, just designate one person to getting all the anomalies. So basically, in my fire team, I was the one person that knew where every single anomaly was throughout the entire Nightfall. This way that you're not wasting time, you're not having multiple people look for them and confused if they got them or not. You just have one person go for them, while the other 2 are always fighting, always killing ads. Secondly, make sure you are using a lot of teamwork. So like I said, there's a lot of big red bar knights in this Nightfall. There's also a lot of yellow bars. Now when this happens, just use all 3 people to focus at the same time on the same exact enemy. So for example, in this very beginning phase that you're watching right now, there is a wizard that spawns. If all 3 people focus the wizard, she will die instantly. Same with, like, there's 2 knights. If all 3 of you focus the same knight, it'll die quickly, and then you can move on to the second one. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is super usage. This was key. This was something that we learned after several runs and stuff. We pretty much had a perfect rhythm of when to use our supers. There are like 3 or 4 very specific places that you really want to use tethers because you'll get your tether back immediately and just make it easier. You can use a tether in this part of the nightfall that we are at right now. Basically, as soon as the door opens and there's 2 knights and a ogre, if you tether right in front, you'll get the 2 knights and a bunch of thrall, and it'll most likely give you your super back or very, very close. Moving on to the next step of this nightfall, you're going to have a few parts where you have to grab an orb and you have to slam it to kill a shrieker. For this part, it's very, very easy. This is a really good part for your Night Stalker. What you want to do is you want to have your Night Stalker go invisible by shade stepping and then grab the orb. Again, you have to do it in that order. If you grab the orb and then go shade step, you'll drop the orb. So you want to make sure you shade step first, go invisible, then grab the orb. We always use our Night Stalkers for the slamming parts. It just makes it a whole lot simpler. Alright, so this is basically the second place where you really want to use a tether. It's when you get to the second ogre. There's a bunch of enemies. They're all spawned together. You really want to use a tether here. And then if you have a Stormcaller or any other roaming super, you want to use your roaming supers here. As you can see, I was on a Storm. And I was pretty much able to kill all the tethered enemies with my Storm and focus on a couple of knights on the right-hand side. This section of the Nightfall is definitely one of the trickier ones, one of the hardest ones. You really want to just, again, stay together, play it safe. You do not have to take this quickly. You can take your time, just kill all the ads. Again, you want to make sure you're always team shooting, focusing on the ads, slowly going through. Again, after you kill this first ogre, there's another ogre on the stairs, and you can kill him. You can do a lot of damage from really far away. You do not need to get all up in front of people. There's just no point. So like I said, just take your time, Now moving on to the next section of the strike. Another place where you want to use a tether is basically right in this room on the right hand side. There's another big giant group of enemies, and again, really good place to use a tether because if you do it right, you will get your tether back again. This is very, very important. So that's why I'm showing you guys all these places in the Nightfall where you want to use tethers, because it'll just make it easier and quicker. Now, finally on to the boss fight. Now, for the most part, you want to make sure you always have at least one person always doing damage to the boss until he goes immune. The very first time you see him, he's right in the middle. You can do a good amount of damage. He will go immune and then move on to the right, and then you can do some more and he'll go immune on the right. When he goes immune on the right, that means there's going to be a ton of enemies that spawn on the right side. Again, another time to use your tether. Use your tether there, maybe even use another one of your roaming supers to clean up all of those ads. And then the boss will be damageable again, and then he'll go to middle, and you can do some more damage to him. Eventually, you will do enough damage to move him over to the farthest left part of this room. And when he's over there, again, you will eventually get him to here. He's immune, and when he finally turns immune on the left-hand side is where you want to use your final tether. You want to tether the big group of enemies that spawn there, and there's like 3 ogres. When you do this, you want to use both your other roaming supers to try to clean up all of those ads and the ogres. Most likely, someone's going to die. It's just very, very chaotic. There's a lot going on, but it'll be worth it. If none of you die, you will all probably have supers again because of all the orbs produced. But mainly, this will just make this part of the strike much, much easier. Now, again, once you finally do enough damage to move him again to the final place, which is basically he will disappear and go to the furthest place away from you, and you will have one of those orbs spawn where you have to kill a wizard and take the orb and slam it to where the boss is sitting. And then finally, that'll move him back to middle, where he will stay until you can finish this Nightfall. One thing I didn't really talk about, but I recommend saving all of your heavy till the final damage phase. No reason to use it before that because you can just use scout rifles to knock him down. Because basically the final damage phase, I think, just has unlimited thralls and enemies spawning. So you really just want to focus on killing him as quickly as possible. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Basically, when you get to the final damage phase, just unload Warcliffe coils into it. Just keep moving, keep shooting. Eventually you'll do it. If you do this correctly, you should have plenty of time, to be honest. The last three, the three that we successfully completed in, we pretty much had like 3.5, 4 minutes left. It was, again, a lot easier when we just got a perfect rhythm. But yeah, anyways, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully all the pointers and stuff will help you guys get through it. Like I said, this is the hardest Nightfall I have ever attempted. It is very rough, but it's also a lot of fun. It's fun having a challenging Nightfall for change. So anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments and I will get to them. But yeah, anyways, hope you guys have an awesome rest of the day. I will talk to you guys later.